We have oh wow, we have so many people joining. So with us, we have three amazing founders. Marina, uh, founder and CEO of Tamnoon. Congrats with your recent fundraising, super impressive.
Thank you.
Be
here.
Absolutely. We have Sivan with Onyxia, and we have Lee with Suridata. As we start, the first question I have, if you just for some context, if maybe you can talk a little bit about the problem you're addressing. I know you're in somewhat adjacent spaces, but if you can say a couple words, not necessarily obviously a demo, but more broad strokes, what problem you're addressing, what kind of solution you're bringing to the table, and who's the persona? Are you working with CISOs, SOC analysts? So maybe we'll start with Lee.
Sure. Thanks, Misha. And hi, everyone. Great to see you all. And nice to meet most of you probably for the first time. I'll give a bit of a context for your question, Misha, about Suridata. So obviously, Suridata is in the SaaS and third-party security. That's our area. The problem that we see and we keep hearing from different security teams across the board is that they're lacking observability of SaaS and third-party environment. We all know that AI-based tools are continuously being adopted by business owners, by business units. Unfortunately, in most cases, they don't go through the right onboarding process through either security or IT. So everyone can relate to the scene where an employee decided they want to use a copilot or something for their day-to-day, and they just press next, next, next on the screen and just onboard it to the organization without even thinking about the consequences, the permissions, what they're actually going to do in their organization. And how do we expect security team to secure this environment when they're not necessarily going to know what they should secure? That's the first thing, right? Understanding what was onboarded, how it was onboarded, how people use it. And in an era where the number of SaaS and third parties and plugins and add-ons that are being onboarded keep increasing, I'm not sure that without the proper technology, visibility and actionability also, they'll be able to actually reduce the risk with the limited resources and time that they have in the security team. So that's our prism or prisma on the third-party ecosystem.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And how big is the team now?
We're gonna be 35 this quarter. Yeah.
Right on. So that's great. Sivan, would you take it from there? I just made you host if you want to share a few things.
Yeah, thank you so much. Let me share the screen quickly. In the meantime, it's so nice to see familiar faces and new faces. So thank you so much for the opportunity. My name is Sivan. I'm the CEO and the founder of Onyxia. I guess I need to admit people if I'm the host, or are you a co-host, Misha? Because
I'm the host.
I see things popping up. Okay, yeah. So I'm the CEO and the founder of Onyxia. We developed a cybersecurity management platform to help companies basically leverage the data that they have to make better decisions. In my background, I basically started my career in the Israeli army. I served for 10 years as a cybersecurity officer. And since then, I worked very closely with CISOs to help them develop security programs. And I was also part of Permit 81, which was basically one of the first companies to develop zero trust remote access solutions. And also then I worked very closely with the CISOs. And that's how I realized that we really need a solution that can help to leverage the data that we have in each one of those solutions and find the right way in an harmonic way to manage our programs and KPIs. In my free time, I paddle on the Hudson, and I can quickly tell you that when we started the company, we spoke with around 200 CISOs. We realized that most of the time companies are managing their security programs and performance and measurement in spreadsheets. We don't want to only automate that, but also to leverage the data, as I mentioned, with AI to help companies do better correlation, get them not only better visibility, but also the relevant insights in order to improve their ongoing security posture. And we all hear about security data fabric and the all new concept of security management. So that's how we do that. We're basically integrating with the existing stack. We pull the data and we do the heavy lift of the correlation of the data and provide insights for many different purposes. I guess we're going to talk more about AI, Misha, and how we leverage it during the conversation. But because we work with a huge amount of data, we were able to develop algorithms to provide insights such as a security program improvement. We're able to predict, for example, when companies are not going to meet their SLA for specific KPIs, obviously business outcome reporting, and many more things. And yeah, with that, if anyone wants to learn more or get some of our reports, more than happy to be in touch. So thanks so much for the opportunity.
Absolutely. And again, similar question. How big is the team now?
Well, we're around 20 people now, so.
Awesome.
Yeah, good to see you all. Thanks for the comment. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Marina, you're up next. Tell us what, how, again, congrats. It's super impressive. A round. It's from there, it's a clear shot to unicorn and IPO. So it's super exciting.
It's like with kids, smaller problems, big kids.
There you go. Exactly.
Thank you for having me. I was dreaming about having a joint session with Lee and Sivan. So thank you for making dreams come true over this session. I'll talk a little bit about Tamnoon, and we are not product. We are not gonna sell you any new feature or a dashboard that you're gonna need to manage. We are managed services company, and the team here and myself, we all were involved in pioneering the cloud security space. We built first a solution that is nowadays shaping what is called CNAPP or CSPM, and the understanding that we've got throughout our careers is that even though we have all the technology in the world these days, we can basically detect anything in the cloud. We can find the right way to automate and triage and provide visibility to security teams. Still, our industry problem is lack of people, lack of expertise, and we all look at our dashboards that just tell us how not progressive we are in the maturity, and that's where we are coming with an innovative approach to manage security. We believe that cloud security teams deserve managed offerings that will take the majority of the tasks that needs to be scaled by technology off their plates. We're doing all the heavy lifting, providing the expertise needed to the cloud security teams in order to finally solve the cloud exposure risks that they are facing. The amount of tools that we are connecting to is enormous. We basically are able to ingest any type of vulnerability misconfiguration these days, and our goal is to be there to fix it. So until we fix some exposure, we are not going to leave your development and security teams. We are taking full responsibility to identify, prioritize, understand the impact, make sure that nothing will get broken as we fix. That's a super important value that we provide, and that helps us to also bridge the gap between security demands and development teams' resistance. And our remediation offering is helping in the places where we need staff augmentation, we need support in the places where we don't have the expertise and knowledge, or we just want to make our teams focus on strategic priorities rather than ongoing triage and prioritization and resolution of misconfigurations. Our customers experience huge success, and just within 1 month, they can see impressive numbers of alerts that we are able to fix, triage, and we are bringing them to those elite clubs of zero criticals. We're helping them to remediate faster. They are able to understand their KPIs and SLA better, and they finally become the friends with developers. So when security teams come that works with Tamnoon is coming to developers love it because we are not adding anything to their plates. We're actually offloading a lot from their plates as well. There is a barcode here. You can scan it. If you want to speak to one of our best experts to understand how they are fixing more, reducing your production outages, and helping you to offload all of the heavy lifting, that's us.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That's great. So as we continue, I guess the cybersecurity, it's just such a big space. There's so many vendors, big and small, new startups getting funded, organizations getting acquired. Sometimes for a practitioner, it's not easy to distinguish. Everyone, a couple of years ago, everyone was selling zero trust. I think the joke is next time at RSA, AI will be on everyone's tagline. And with this, I think it's interesting to figure out what's the distinction. What is the secret sauce? Obviously, I'm not asking for proprietary IP, but in your own words, how would you describe what sets you apart from the rest of the providers? What makes you special? And coincidentally, if do bring AI into this conversation, either how it will be deployed currently or in the future in a solution, or how, in your view, it may impact the problem that you're solving. And again, if it's okay, let's start with the same order. Lee, you started us. Maybe if you can take this question.
Sure. So I'll start with the approach. I think that what makes Suridata special, or our secret sauce, is not just in the product and technology, is first in the approach. We went to the platform play from very, very early on. We realized that having another security tool for something that is very, very niche might not be the right approach, right? There are a lot of tools that are being onboarded. It's very hard to keep up with all the new tools that are being onboarded, and having another one for a very niche, specific problem might not be the right approach these days. The second one in the approach is understanding that visibility is not a value. It's the beginning. It's the first phase in order to solve the problem. So we're focused mainly on actionability, and not in just telling you again how big your problems are, what you don't know that you don't know, and then bringing in many more ways that will need to be remediated. But because of the lack in resources and times and other security team things, will never be addressed, or at least will take months to address. So what we've built in our product is basically the ability to distill actionable insights in a very complex SaaS and third-party environment that it keeps growing and getting more complex, by actually consolidating 3 different entities into one prism. So looking and providing context on things that actually should be done when you look at the prisma of an application, a third party, and a user, gives more context and actually change the way the security team can consume our insight. It means that instead of telling them you have 700 different risks across your SaaS environment, and they'll tell us, okay, how can we handle it? Help me understand what we should prioritize, and having the context, which we can gain because we use AI, of course, to get the insight across a very complex environment. It allows us to take a problem and translate it into actions. And using workflows and using automation, we're able to help them take the risks that were identified at the security level, and transform them and assign them to a business owner, because as you all know, SaaS is being adopted by business owners. So when you actually assign and you take the risk from security team and you collaborate with the business owner, you can actually take the visibility and turn it into an actionable, into a thing that can be actually solved. So that's on Suridata, and
Interesting.
that's how,
I think
yeah.
I think when you say you offer to CISOs a way to offload responsibility for risk onto business owners, I would say it's music to their ears. But I'm sure you will hear with questions down the line. But I think
Yeah.
it's phenomenal. Sivan, you are up next. I'll make you host if you want to share something.
No, I think I'm good with the slides. I'll keep it.
Okay. Okay.
I'll go. Yeah, so I think our approach was really to make sure that we're developing something that is really connected to the field, and that's why since the very beginning we built around us a very strong community of CISOs. We have CISOs investors, we have great design partners who joined us since the very beginning to help us really shape the product and the value. And I see our customers and advisors really as part of the mission. And I think that one of the things we realized is that if you really listen to your customers, all of their knowledge can be very valuable for everyone else. So it was very important for us to create this community around us, and especially since we're talking about KPIs and best practices that are at the end of the day relevant for everyone. We spoke at the beginning with 200 CISOs in order to try and understand what are the best practices. But what we realized is that everyone's measuring almost the same things. And for some reason, everyone needs to reinvent the wheel as soon as they start their first role as a CISO. And there is really no need. If we have all this knowledge and all these best practices, we can just provide you a platform that gives you out-of-the-box metrics, connect to your data, gives you those actionable insights, one-click reporting, instead of like doing all the data aggregations once a while. And really, like, my dream when I was a CISO, and after speaking with so many CISOs, like, I realized that I wish I could have this one place where I can go in the morning and, like, I'm asking Alexa, hey Alexa, how is the weather today? I really wanted to go to one place and ask a platform like Onyxia, hey Onyxia, what are the top 3 things I should be afraid of today? What are the top 3 things I should focus on today? And that's really what eventually we're looking to provide, those highlights of the day, instead of like dig into the data. And CISOs especially, and this is our main persona, they need to look at things at a high level, but still have access to details and access to the data. And that's really what we're providing. And I think that having this community, that's the secret sauce, besides obviously the technology behind it, as we mentioned, the AI. I do want to add something about AI. Obviously, everyone's using this term. There are many different types of technologies behind it, and when sometimes we refer to generative AI, sometimes we talk about statistical models or machine learning, and we use a little bit of each. And I think that the fact that we're able to generate a huge amount of data, sometimes we work with companies with really like millions of logs from each system, and doing this heavy lift and the correlation of the data and providing very accurate insights at the end of the day, it's super powerful. And I don't think we could achieve the same results if we were trying to build these products 10 years ago or even less. I think the fact that we have those technologies nowadays really helping startups to run faster and provide better results. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Marina?
So secret sauce of Tamnoon is in the whole vision that we want to focus on solving problems. We don't want to keep showing dashboards. We don't want to keep giving visibility or detecting problems or giving yet another tool that the team would need to manage out of the hundreds or tens of tools that they already have. Our goal is to provide the best experts in the cloud security space at scale in the product innovative experience that is powered by technology. But think about just having this team of experts that are powered by very, very powerful machines, including AI and all the technology that is baked for cloud, who are just taking your tools and making them operational, and in the end of the day, shrinking the amount of exposure you have and telling you how they did every month and showing you how much risk you reduce. So that's the vision of Tamnoon, and we are achieving that with, instead of building yet another technology and giving it to humans, we are surrounding our expert humans with the technology that makes them superhumans. And you're getting it through an experience of obviously a platform that will give you all the information you need, but you don't even need to log in there. It's just for your information, just to give you a sense of where we are. And that is what makes us unique. We are offloading and fixing for the companies with the idea that remediation is so complex. So think about us as, we have the Tesla, we are the drivers, and we are driving it to the most complex places in your cloud environments and fixing them with technology that we've purposely built.
Absolutely, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. Thanks, Marina. Well, switching gears from technical to personal, I think as an outsider looking in, I think the life of a cybersecurity startup founder is full of highs and lows, and it's a leap of faith, and it's exhilarating and frustrating and everything in between. And I'd love to hear your stories, how you ended up where you're right now, and also maybe if you could share some of the milestones, what made you decide to embark on this career path, and maybe you can share some of the highs and lows, and maybe if you can finish with your advice for future founders, and especially for future female founders. What will be your 1-2 things you would advise someone who's just looking at the space and deciding to come up with an idea to form a founding team to start talking to investors? What would be their advice? And again, if it's okay, we'll start in the same order. So maybe we'll start with Lee.
Sure. So my personal journey started, well, the first question is always, did you know that you're going to be a founder? The answer for me is yes, since the day I remember myself. It's just the way you think. If you see something, you always want to make it better. You want to change it. You want to do it your way. So I think it's definitely something that you're born with. After the army, I started a business with 2 of my colleagues. We did it for 4.5 years. I was building the product. So my background is mostly in product. We sold it after 4.5 years, and then I decided I need to go to see some more global organizations and corporations. I love building. I knew I'm going to be back for this. But then I went to global organizations, EY, Deloitte. My last role was leading NLP-based technologies development for the global firm. So, people know Deloitte, obviously about 400,000 size organization. So it's a big one. And I felt like I was kind of an entrepreneur in the organization, trying to move things and push and get budget. And actually my biggest project was stuck because of security. I typically don't get no's, and I just couldn't get this no. And I decided, then COVID started, and I thought it's going to be a good time to test the water to see if my problem that I experience is in actual a big problem in the industry, what people think, how they handle it, what's the big deal about third parties and SaaS, why it's so challenging. Salesforce is here for over 20 years, right? How come people are still being blocked by security when they want to use third party? And then that's the beginning of Suridata, obviously. And then we just started talking to security executive, hear their thoughts, understand what their perspective, and decided that we're going and doing it. It's, as you mentioned, it's a roller coaster, right? I always say that the week in our life is probably a quarter in everyone's else. You asked
Sure.
to give example about ups and downs, but I can tell you about tens in a single day, right? It's not
Can you
something
can you maybe share like what was the highest high, what was the lowest low?
Well, the highest high is obviously an onboarding of our biggest customer, a new customer that is being onboarded, use it, love it, tell you this feedback that can change your entire day. I think that's the high, obviously, right? I can share. You also talked about what tips or things to do, so I can share that. 2 weeks after my son was born, I started traveling. So my tip is don't do it. Take more time, stay a little bit more. Things can wait, but I just felt that I always say that Suridata is my first child, and first child is always your top priority, but that's okay. Sometimes say no and take the time needed, but it's really easy to say, but very hard to do. So,
Of course, of
yeah.
course. And we're gonna share some of the lows.
Some of the low, when you get a no, it's always make you doubt yourself, right? But I decided to take every no into getting more motivation. Every time someone tell me no, I'm just okay, thank you, and then I'm just going to do everything I can to make it the opposite, to make him understand that it's actually a yes. So
Yeah. Well, a no is really not right now. So it's amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
No.
Thank you so much. This is amazing. Sivan?
Yeah. Well, first, I think I'm so honored to be here with two amazing female founders. There are really not enough women who are taking this journey, and I'm very inspired anytime I hear stories. But the other part of it is that I think that I never felt that I'm different because I'm a woman. That's like one thing I do want to highlight. I got into the field after basically 10 years of military service. I got used to the fact that I often being the only woman around the table in many different situations. And I learned, I think, over the years to basically see where and how I can really turn that into an opportunity. I think for me, what really brought me into this journey was the fact that I experienced a pain that I really wanted to solve. And over the years, I realized that it's a real pain. So I don't know if you were asking me if I ended up building a company, if that was like something I really wanted to do when I was young. I do think that I learned that it's super important to expose young girls and boys to the different opportunities out there, and there are no really programming entrepreneurships or even cybersecurity in high schools or in the academia. It's something that is very new. So what I'm trying to do, besides like solving those big problems, is also to see how I can give back to the community, and that's something I've done during the years. And I think at the end of the day, it comes back to you in many other ways. But during the years, I developed a cybersecurity master's program for YU, for Yeshiva University, and I became the program director. And I realized that when I started, there were no academic programs. So it was very important for me to contribute from my knowledge and obviously collaborate with additional experts out there to basically develop those programs. I also founded a Cyber Ladies community and developed a cybersecurity program for high schools in Manhattan. And one of them is Manhattan High School for Girls. And I think that's really my way to give back. What I can tell you is that I also learned that all those connections I've developed during the years doing this really helped me when I started Onyxia to push the company forward. And it opened many, many doors for me. And I'm very grateful for the people and the community we were able to build around ourselves. Obviously, there are definitely highs and lows. I think that I can share a story. I have a 9-year-old daughter, and I had a very tough day one day when I was like really trying to close something and complete something during the day, and she saw that I'm so stressed. And at the end of the day, she asked me, "Mom, what are your goals with this company? What are you trying to do?" And I was really thinking about it. Like first, I was like, I have another board member at home. I need to give some answers here. But then I was thinking that it's actually a very interesting question from a young girl that is really trying to figure out like why her mom needs all this stress. And what I told her was that I really think that it's a way for her to learn how you really need to work hard to make dreams come true, and that if you have something that you really want to achieve, it's part of the journey. And I really take this journey as an opportunity for me also to teach her some lessons that maybe I wasn't exposed to and I didn't have a chance to learn when I was her age or even older. So yeah, maybe to summarize, I'll go back to the first image I presented, that my hobby is to really pedal on the Hudson, and I'm doing pedal boarding for the past maybe 10 years. And this is like my active meditation. And anytime I'm in the water, I feel like this is so relevant to our reality. Even as cybersecurity experts, we always try to reach for balance, but balance is not even real. It's all about harmony. And we talk about work-life balance, but it's not true to look for balance, because sometimes your family needs more attention and sometimes your work needs more attention. And it's really about being able to live in harmony with those needs of those different elements in life. Same as when we talk about cyber security threats. And I think that I love the lessons I learned in the water. I think I'm learning every day during this journey, and I'm getting to connect with great minds. So my advice would be to keep for new entrepreneurs to really think about this concept of work-life harmony and really how they can leverage their network and the people around them to help them to went through all this process. So yeah, 2 cents. Maybe it was
Totally. This is amazing. I love the that you have another board member at home. I think that's such an apt metaphor to it. I have 2, so yeah, I totally can relate. Marina, you up next.
So what should I start with? I actually have an investor at home because he was the first one to give me $100 from his piggy when I said that I'm starting my company. He's not an official on the cap table, but he is definitely checking on how much his $100 worth every day and keeping
Talk about early stage investing, right?
Absolutely. So I started my career. I never thought I will. I don't think I ever remember that I said what I want to be when I grow up, because I never knew. I always knew what I don't want to do, and that was my guiding principle when I was picking what to study. When I was kind of getting to my first job, and typically what driven me the most was the combination of people and technology, and I was always passionate about um, making people use technology in the most effective way. And somehow I got into Deloitte because my friend just suggested me to pick them over another consulting company because they had a better location in Israel. So I never had it planned well. Over time, with this passion that was driving me, I got into security. I was managing very complex projects, and I found myself in Credit Karma in Bay Area, transitioning this whole operation to cloud when no one knew what cloud was. And at that point, I've been in the States for some time, and I was really missing the Israeli culture, and I wanted to work with more kind of obviously all the startups were pitching me working in Credit Karma, so I was using all of the different tools that I could possibly use because I was enjoying the collaboration, the innovation, the drive that those people were bringing. And at some point, I just joined one of them because I really wanted to be surrounded by those amazing people. And since then, I'm in the startup space, and I think at that point, I knew that that's where I want to be. I don't think I figured that I want to be a founder at that point, but after a few startups and making a few founders really successful, I think the next step for me was the right timing for me, the right timing to find the right team to build the startup with. I think it's a super important and milestone in the journey of each one of the startup founders that we don't speak a lot about. And all the stars aligned from the personal life perspective, from the team perspective, and that's how we started the company. So what was the other question? Where
Can you share, well, maybe some of the highs and some of the lows, if you can share, and maybe also leave some advice for people who will follow in your stead?
So the moment you said the lows, it was, I have this picture of myself running, literally running in the rain to a car to drive to SVB in Seattle to get the money out of the bank when they get crashed. So that was like the lowest low because I had a cup of my coffee, I was running, it was like all mess, and I got there on time, but they didn't give me the money. It was a birthday of my daughter the next day. I was on the phone with like investors. I was closing my seed round back then. I was waiting for wires to cut. It was a mess. Like it was really a mess. And then I ran to another bank to open a bank account. So that's a definitely a memorable event in the journey. The highs, wow. I think there were a lot of highs. Obviously, new customers, expansion. When you fix something that exposed customer, when you see that like 2,000 alerts getting closed because you notice some activity from China, that's amazing. Like you cannot dream of anything else. Helps your marketing, it helps your delivery team, it helps everybody in the company, and it's like it has a huge impact. Even though it may seem not a big deal because we in security see those things every day. And finding the right team members, right? Onboarding people who you want to work with is obviously the best moments. We also eat babka sometimes, so that's definitely an amazing moment for the team experience there. So
it sounds like fun. And for someone who is listening to you and wants to do the same, what will be your advice?
make sure you want to do it. It's like it's like having another kid, but and it's like a lot of it impacts the entire ecosystem you live in. It's not only your life that is going to be impacted, you're impacting life of your kids, of your friends. Make sure that you really want to do it and sacrifice a lot for the sake of the mission that you're in. And if you don't feel that it's your hobby, that you want to be in it like every single moment, maybe you don't want to be a founder.
Well, it's a long journey, essentially. It's you want to be. It's not a sprint; it's a marathon, and you really want to get to the finish line.
You want to enjoy doing marathons, right?
Exactly. Awesome. That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing those stories. I think we're great on time. I'd love to open up the floor for questions. So if you have a question, please unmute yourself, and if possible, go on camera. And we'll probably start, Amina, if you could start us off with questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Ladies, that was really incredible. I'm enjoying this so much. One question I have is for Sivan. I wanted to ask you, what inspired you to become a startup founder?
Yeah, so I think I covered it in some of the other questions, but really the fact that I experienced a pain that I wanted to solve, and I really believe that it's about time to do that. I was encouraged by my colleagues in the field, and I realized that if I'm not going to do that, maybe some other companies will do that. And I started to explore this opportunity, and I realized that if I won't do that, I won't be able to really sleep good at night. So that's what maybe made me jump into the cold water. Yeah, and I am enjoying the journey so far. So with the highs and the lows.
That's great. That's great. For everyone who's on the call, if you have a question, please go ahead.
Okay, I'll ask the question then. Well, first of all, thank you very much for arranging this, Misha. And ladies, thank you very much for sharing your experiences. It's very inspiring to hear your stories, to hear your backgrounds, to see how you progress through your careers. So this is probably a question to all of you. What challenges do you see on the horizon that CISOs will be facing, and how would you help us solve those problems?
Thanks, Jason.
Sir.
I guess we all can answer from our own perspective and with what we're solving, which probably for each one of us, it's the main the main problem and the niche. So I can just maybe give my quick answer, and it's really the fact that security leaders really overwhelmed today with so many technologies and noise, and there is so much data to keep up with, and also new regulations. And I find it very hard that there is no standard in the market for security leaders to follow. There is regulation, but they don't tell you what they expect you to do in order to handle that. For example, now with the SEC, they ask companies not only to disclose incidents in 4 days, but also to disclose security programs and strategies. What is this? How you disclose that? What they're expecting to see? And that's really the problem that made me think about how to automate those processes, and not only provide you with a platform, but also to maybe even create a standard that everyone else can follow, because we have the knowledge as a community, and we just need to put it together and box it in a way that everyone else can use. So that's my perspective. I'm sure Lee and Marina has their answers.
Thanks, Sivan. Marina or Lee?
I can start kind of a brainstorming together with all of you guys. I think that we are seeing that these days it's really easy to compromise, right? You can just run a simple query, ask ChatGPT, run Google query, and ask, how do I find all of the open buckets? How do I do this? How do I do that? And that allows, with all the technologies that the bad actors have these days, they're so fast to identify all the holes that we leave. And I think that the CISOs are being challenged with the speed of response and the ability to identify all of the loopholes faster than the attackers possibly can. So I think there needs to be a shift and into more proactive and preventative mode, so that we can keep up with the speed of everything that is happening. We've been investing so much in the reactive functions in SOC teams, in kind of responding to the incidents. And I think the challenge of the CISO is that we cannot keep living in this reality just because we have too much things to respond to. We have too many alerts, too many tools, and it's just impossible to take care of it. Even if our teams will double or triple, it's just not realistic. So I think the challenge of CISOs in the next foreseeable future would be, how do we shift our functions into more proactive and preventative, so that we need to close less loopholes. We can be more thoughtful about our reaction, because our prevention is very solid.
It's awesome. Thank you. Lee?
Sure. So I think the one of the most core values that we see that can help teams, as you asked Jason, is to basically turn the visibility into something that can actually be done. It means that, as Marina mentioned, it's not just about the visibility, it's not about what's there, it's also what you can do with that. So we've built many workflows and processes with exactly the people that can give the context, right? You as security leaders probably won't rush to do any actions that will disrupt the business continuity, right? So what we changed is the way that you can gain context from the end users, from the people that actually consume these apps and services. And by automating this, you can actually turn actions, take things that you would never thought you will do when you get the right context with the right people. So I think that bridging the gap between the security team and the business owners, that's one of the things that can be very, very helpful.
Certainly. Absolutely. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing your perspective. Anyone else? Don't be shy because I have a lot of questions.
I got a quick question. First of all, Misha, thank you again for a wonderful program. This is a great topic. Thank you to the panelists. I think each of you is an admirable example of a person who is esteemed for leadership and kind of helping deal with the troubles that we have in this industry, which I think sometimes are unique because people don't listen to security people. Anyway. I have a quick question for any of you, which would be, looking back, are there any wax on, wax off moments that have contributed in your life in who you have become today? Any little pieces of advice as to, here's a little trick I've learned that has helped lead me to this place?
And wax on, wax off, it's a reference obviously to Karate Kid.
Oh, Karate Kid. Yeah, everyone knows Karate Kid now. Thank you.
I can maybe share a quick story, and it's related to some of the things that I mentioned here. But what I learned is that you can never know when an opportunity is coming from. And that's why it's so important to always just spread a word about what you're doing, what you're building, and always make sure that people around you knows what you're willing to achieve. And I have a very nice story that when I moved to New York, I started to pedal on the Hudson, and like there are not so many people who do that. So it's very easy to connect with kayakers and people on the water. And the first time I pedaled to Statue of Liberty, it was very rough. It was a 13-mile trip, and I went with a group of kayakers, and they usually faster than the pedal boarders. And when I went back, it was so windy, so I stayed behind everyone. And then someone out of nowhere on a kayak like joined me, and we started to speak in English. And then he realized that I have an accent, and I realized that he has an accent. He was an Israeli guy, so we switched to Hebrew. We spoke in Hebrew. And I didn't even realize along the way that I'm like telling him how much I'm excited about like this crazy idea that I have, and that I want to start a company to solve it. And I was just about to look for co-founders and investors. And he ended like at the end of this trip, he became my first investor in the company. And I found, and because I found my investors before I found co-founders, I decided to just keep going and build a company by myself. I still don't know. I mean, I don't know anything else, but I don't know if it's like better or not. But I think the lesson I learned is that you can really never know who are the people around you who can open doors for you and help you and can help push you. So yeah, I learned to always share my ideas with everyone and to
Such an amazing story. It's such a non-traditional way to raise funding for your startup. Thank you for sharing. This is amazing. Lee?
I'm trying to think if what a moment made like this big change, because it's very hard to, to pinpoint a specific thing that happened. But I think that I wouldn't say a lesson learned, but maybe something that made a big change in my perspective is I'm taking it a long, probably, I don't know, I don't want to disclose the number, but a long time ago when I was in high school, I did an ambassador program. I did an exchange program. So I spent 4 months in Houston, Texas, coming out of Israel, obviously. And my goal was to talk about Israel, to talk about, 16 years old to other 16 years old. I went to school. I stayed at a family. I actually lived a life like an American teenager coming out of Israel again, which is completely different. And I remember that I did one day a presentation to all the school. It was a few hundred or a few thousand, I don't remember. And then I remember people, like other students, coming to me directly after the presentation when I just described things that are very obvious about Israel, right? And people were asking me, were telling me, we thought that you're still riding camels in Israel. So thank you for coming here and explaining and sharing. And then I realized the power of actually changing people's opinion and influencing. And I knew that I have to continue doing this. And then I went to stand with us in university. And then I realized the power of actually us making a change in others' life by just telling and bringing our own perspective and experience. And I think that just since then, it keeps reminding me that if there is something that I feel that I can make a change or I can make an impact, so I just have to do it without overthinking or thinking about the consequence, what other will think, etc. So
Awesome. That's great. Well, it's actually part of the reason why I like traveling so much, because no TV, no internet will actually be a substitute for seeing how people live and interacting. So
Yeah.
it certainly makes a difference. Marina, is there anything you want to share?
Sure. I think throughout my childhood, so I immigrated from Ukraine to Israel when I was 13. And the moment you immigrate with your parents, when you're in an age where you are not a young kid anymore, you become a helper of the family. So my role was bureaucracy. I was translating everything. I was going to doctors, social services, and I was kind of coming with my grandparents, with my parents everywhere. And I hated that. It was embarrassing. It was like they didn't know any Hebrew. I was like speaking very little Hebrew in the beginning. It got improved by the process of speaking with all the social services and medical system. And what I learned from my mom and my grandma and from my parents, it just, you don't take no for an answer. Like, and it was so awkward. Like they were answering, I was asking someone, they were answering me no, and my mom would keep saying no, but tell her this and tell her that. And I think that taught me that, you cannot be more embarrassed than that as a 13-year-old kind of a teenager, where you're coming to a place and you keep and your parents are telling you what to say. So I think throughout, my professional career, that persistence and the ability to get to what I need is something that is coming from that big embarrassment. And I get embarrassed, but I don't think that I'm like get embarrassed as much as other people do. And nowadays I feel that with my kids when we are coming to a place and I'm doing what I'm doing for my entire life, they get embarrassed now. So this is an evolution of this not taking no for an answer, and how it can be embarrassing, and you need to work on that. So that was
Awesome. That's awesome. That's thanks for sharing this. This is it's a great story. I know we're coming up on time, and I'm sure everyone probably you have questions that maybe are too technical, maybe you just don't want to bring it up. So we'd like to encourage everyone. on this call to reach out on LinkedIn and say thank you to Marina and Lee and Sivan, and also to encourage to bring your technical questions. If you're interested in understanding the tech a little bit better, if you need help with some of the issues where you think Tamnoon or Onyxia Suridata can be of service, I would encourage you to do that. If you like this session, please, we'll share some of the artifacts later on that you can share on LinkedIn. But at this time, I want to thank all our panelists, Marina and Lee and Sivan. You're awesome. You're amazing. I feel privileged of watching your journey, and I wish you all the success in the world. And if there's anything Affinia can do, would love to be of assistance. And I also want to thank everyone on this call. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for listening to the stories and the discussion about the problems that these amazing founders are solving. I really appreciate it, and stay tuned. We'll be doing the similar kind of sessions every month or so now that we have Amina on board. And again, thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.